Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production YouTube, and welcome to another album of the week. This is episode number 93, and for this episode we are going to be focusing on technically I consider it to be the 21st, but according to Lemmy it is the 20th studio album in Motörhead's discography. That is The Wörld Is Yours, which by December 10th of this week, it will reach its 10th anniversary because of it was originally released on December 10th, 2010. And this, to me, is kind of the start of the final trilogy of Motörhead albums. And the reason I of course, the final trilogy being The Wörld Is Yours, Aftershock, and, well, Bad Magic, which, again, these are the final three albums, but it all begins here with The Wörld Is Yours, which was actually also the first new Motörhead release I had purchased, because of at this point in time of like around 2010, I wasn't so focused on getting a lot of the more newer or recent Motörhead albums. I was just more focusing on adding in a lot of the more classic albums. So this was actually the first new release to ever make it into my collection. So there's definitely some nostalgic memories with this album. But to me, this definitely began the final three Motörhead albums. Again, what I consider to be the final trilogy. Also, this was the fourth album to be produced by Cameron Webb, which at this point he began producing Motörhead's albums with beginning with 2004's Inferno, then of course going into Kiss of Death, then of course to Motorizer, and then here with The Wörld Is Yours, Aftershock, and Bad Magic. So at this point, Cameron Webb had at least produced, right now that I'm recording this, since it's 2020, prior to pretty much after 2015, Cameron Webb had at least produced 6 studio albums. But when this album was released, he had only, this would have been his fourth album producing from Motörhead, so that's definitely, it was definitely pretty cool. The way I look at Cameron Webb's time with Motörhead, and how when you look at when I look at least the bond and the friendship between the band and Cameron Webb, it seems to be the same situation with Brendan O'Brien and AC/DC. So basically, again, Cameron Webb with to Motörhead is what right now is what Brendan O'Brien is to AC/DC. Again, it's just is that real good friendship between the two, and the fact that according to Lemmy, Cameron Webb just seemed to him to have understood Motörhead. So that's, I think, and it's one of those many factors for why Cameron Webb at least was pretty much had stuck with Motörhead, and why he was kept as the producer for Motörhead. So definitely you cannot overlook that. Those are one of the many factors into, of course, this album right here. So before really getting into some of my thoughts on this album and me just looking back on this album, let's definitely do a track listing rundown. We got about 10 songs on here, and it all clocks in at 39 minutes and 9 seconds. These 10 songs, of course, are Born to Lose, I Know How to Die, Get Back in Line, Devil's in My Head, Rock and Roll Music, Waiting for the Snake, Brotherhood of Man, Outlaw, I Know What You Need, and Bye Bye Bitch Bye Bye. So there's your 10 songs there. So, me, when I'm looking back at this album, when I first, again, prior to this album, I wasn't, again, like I've stated at the beginning of this video, I wasn't so focused on adding any newer, or any of the newer Motörhead albums into my collection. I was just more focused on really just adding in more of the classic albums. But when this album was announced and it was going to be released, I mean, I didn't get to purchase this or get this album until February of 2011. So basically what I've got in my collection is the 2011 repress, which again was CD DVD, because the bonus DVD is the 2006 Wacken Show, which had featured songs like Dr. Rock, Love Me Like a Reptile, Killers, In the Name of Tragedy, Dancing on Your Grave, and Fast and Loose. So that's the edition I've got of this album. But when I did purchase this album, I listened to it a lot. I did give this album some pretty good mileage, but not as much mileage as any of the classic albums, because at this point, again, all I had in my collection when it came to Motörhead was, again, the self-titled debut album, Bomber, Overkill, Another Perfect Day, and Ace. Did I say Ace of Spades and Iron Fist? You know, those were some of the albums I had in my collection at this point. But with this album, this was actually, again, one of the first of the newer albums, besides sampling here and there a little bit of Inferno, which I think that that's a pretty good album anyways. But The Wörld Is Yours, I played a lot. Again, when it came to, I mean, what you get with this album is what you would get with any other Motörhead album. Again, Motörhead are, again, in some way, shape, or form, are kind of like AC/DC. Again, they had a formula that works for them, and it's a formula that, again, it definitely worked for them anyways. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say with that. Still, they just had that sort of very good working formula that, again, worked for AC/DC. But Motörhead had their own formula to begin with. And even though Lemmy would definitely change it up a lot more compared to AC/DC, but I wouldn't say that much. It still was the same ideology, the same the same construction and so on. It's just the same idea, basically, of just playing rock and roll. That's about it. And heavy at that too, and fast. And that was basically what was the model for Lemmy. So again, they did have their own formula, but again, it worked for them, and again, it made tons of money basically for Lemmy. So with this album, it was nothing new. Motörhead weren't focused on reinventing the wheel when basically they probably had invented it to begin with. They invented the wheel, so why would you expect a band like Motörhead, especially for even bands like AC/DC, to actually reinvent the wheel when they were the ones that invented it to begin with? So to have them that change up the thing that actually made them money to begin with is basically would be trying to get a salesman to go on and pitch sales for let's just say a car salesman decides, and who had made so many money off of being a car salesman now decides, and he now wants to be a salesman for, basketball. It makes no sense to begin with. So why would you think it would be sensible for Motörhead or even AC/DC to change up the thing that actually got them somewhere to begin with, and at this point still seems to get them somewhere? I think it's almost an oxymoron in its own right. But The Wörld Is Yours, I think that this was a very much a solid addition in the Motörhead discography. Again, I don't know. Between the final trilogy of Motorhead albums, I don't know if I can consider The Wörld Is Yours is my personal favorite, because that actually goes to Aftershock. Aftershock, to me, is my personal favorite of the final three in the Motorhead discography. The final three albums. I think Aftershock was my personal favorite, but The Wörld Is Yours is my second favorite, if for sure. So again, it goes from Aftershock, The Wörld Is Yours, and I guess Bad Magic. It goes in that order. But I do like The Wörld Is Yours a lot. I think, again, there's some solid Motorhead songs on here. I mean, the opening track, Born to Lose, to, of course, I Know How to Die, Devil's in My Head, and Rock and Roll Music. Rock and Roll Music, I think, almost at times has a little bit of an AC/DC feel to it. It just, to me, reminds me a little bit of High Voltage for some reason. Again, it just has that same almost riff and same lick to it that, again, High Voltage from AC/DC has. So it's very similar, but it's not the same song by any means. It uses some of those same tricks that Angus and Malcolm had used on the song High Voltage. So it just has that similar feel to it, and I like it for that. I think it's a good song. Waiting for the Snake is another good one too that I love, and Brotherhood of Man, which Brotherhood of Man definitely has some callbacks to Orgasmatron in terms of just the riff and the whole sound of the song. It's very similar to Orgasmatron, but like again, you can't to say that Motorhead has actually made the same song is something. Again, I don't think AC/DC has made the same song, but they've used every once in a while they will recycle certain riffs and certain licks that and so on that at least had been heard in other songs. So I wouldn't say Brotherhood of Man is a complete copycat of Orgasmatron, but it's similar in vein. So I think it's a good song nonetheless too. Outlaw's a heavy track. That definitely, again, goes back to the sound of like Inferno and Overnight Sensation and Sacrifice. That the more really heavy fucking shit from Motorhead. It's a thrashy song. I love it. It's good. I Know What You Need is also a very good song too. That one definitely has some similarities to the song, the Thin Lizzy song, Bad Reputation. Again, it should be no secret that Lemmy definitely was a friend of Phil Lynott, and of course the connection between Motorhead and Thin Lizzy doesn't just stop there. Of course, having Brian Robertson in the band at one point, of course, with Another Perfect Day, but still. There was a good friendship, and I think in this way this was more seen as more of a familiar tribute almost. Again, as a more so again paying respects. I think to like Thin Lizzy or so on. I think anyway this was done as a way to be more familiar than anything, and done tastefully and not done as blatantly. So I think in this case, it definitely gets a pass. It's a good song too, nonetheless. I really do like I Know What You Need. Bye Bye Bitch Bye Bye is also a fun album ender. It's definitely, again, the humor within Motorhead is no secret. Lemmy was definitely a funny kind of guy. If you've seen his stuff if you've seen him in interviews, you had seen him on any sort of video format or on live. I mean, I've never seen him live, but hearing some of his stage bantering and so on, he definitely was a goofy kind of guy. He was definitely fun, and so a song like this definitely, again, it just plays into that. It definitely shows a lot of Lemmy's humor and so on, and that was one of the good things about Motorhead. It's like, while Lemmy just, while I don't know if you could say he really took things serious, but he knew what he wanted. But with Bye Bye Bitch Bye Bye, this was definitely one of the songs where he definitely could have fun and not be so serious in places. Again, Motorhead could be damn well serious. Just go back to the song on Bastards, which was Daddy Don't Let Daddy Kiss Me. That was, that's a bit of a dark song for sure. But with Bye Bye Bitch Bye Bye, this was definitely just Lemmy being, again, tongue-in-cheek, funny, and for sure, just him being just very, very lighthearted also at times. This was definitely just, again, just being fun. That's what's the whole point with this song. So definitely just taking a seat back, basically, and just kick back and enjoy themselves. That's what you that's you can really use that to really summon up this album. Just, again, kick back and relax and just rock on. And I think that's the best way to summon up the album. Again, I think this was a solid album within Motörhead's discography. There really isn't a bad song on here. Again, it's just an enjoyable album from these guys. There's still plenty of good songs on here. It's again, I'd say it's still classic Motörhead. Again, from one of the most consistent lineups in Motörhead, for sure. Again, with Lemmy Kilmister, Phil Campbell, and Mickey D. This was the most consistent lineup. And because this lineup lasted for close to, God, it was pretty much 2 decades or 3 decades, basically. Close, it could have been 3 decades, but it was a pretty good long time that this lineup had lasted. So it's just great. Every one of them, there's some great fucking guitar solos, there's great riffs. It's just Motörhead being Motörhead. And again, that's why why there are Motörhead fans. This is why everyone was a fan of them anyways. It's because of this kind of energy and this kind of vibe. It's, again, this is why everyone respected Motörhead, because of who they were. They didn't want to be anybody else. They want to be themselves. And this is, again, it's another testament to that. Just them being themselves, and that's about it. That's all I gotta say. I think that this was a solid album in their discography, and when I go back and listen to it, I damn well enjoy this album still. I think this was still a solid album from Motörhead. So there you go. Again, it's been out since for 10 years at this point now. Again, it's reaching its 10th anniversary on December 10th. So any of those who first heard this album, first purchased it, and so on, if you have any thoughts on this album, definitely leave them in the comment section before. But if you haven't heard this album, be quite honest, I think that this is still a solid album to listen to. I don't know, is it really more of a respectful way to say that this would be a good starting point for anyone who wants to get into Motörhead? I think this is probably a good album to get into. To get a good taste of the more modern era of Motörhead. I think this is actually a good, solid album if you want to get a good taste of the modern era of Motörhead. So I think you'll definitely do yourself no wrong with listening to this album. It's definitely a solid album in my book, so that's all I got to say about that. So, before I really end this, I definitely do want to mention that this is right here, the final album of the week episode of 2020 until I bring it back in January. So pretty much it's taking a break for now. It's taking a break until it gets revived in January. So this is the last album of the week episode of 2020. This was a good year for this series. I definitely pumped out a lot of these album of the week episodes this year. The most I think I've ever pumped out in a long time. This was really good. So if you enjoyed these album of the week episodes, let me know in the comments section. But if you want to see if you have any ideas for changes in this series, let me know. Again, 2021 is going to be a interesting year, and I think it would be great to make the year at least interesting, especially for some of these older series here on the channel. Again, like album of the week. If you want to see some changes in this series, let me know in the comment section. But if you think it's great as it is, let me know in the comment section before. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. This is Every Thrasher Sam out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.